But I think we have to start, if we're going to break down who the number one contender is in the NBA, I think it's just abundantly clear who the best team is right now. It is the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics, I think, are just very clearly the top team. If the playoffs happened right now, I think they would be pretty damn close to an even odds title contender. I think that it would be like plus 110, plus 115. You can't do it like that going forward because you never know with injuries. You never know with trades that could happen. Player movement will occur around the trade deadline. But I genuinely think that if the playoffs were held today, the Boston Celtics would be the clear, unequivocal favorite to win the NBA title.
I agree with that. Sounds right. The offense that they're putting up right now is pretty ridiculous. You have to score 130 points if you're going to beat the Boston Celtics. And I just don't know that any other team could do that 4 times. Yeah. And especially since they're going to be stronger by the time the playoffs actually do start. Rob Williams is apparently rounding into form, hoping he's going to be healthy by Christmas. That Christmas Day game against the Bucks, that's the Eastern Conference to me. Like that's the preview of the Eastern Conference Finals. And those are the 2 teams that our mutual friend was talking about. I'm assuming Milwaukee.
I've talked to them and they were.
Yeah. And so I'm in complete agreement with you guys that conference finals is going to be our real finals. Now, this doesn't mean that they're definitely going to beat the Western Conference team, because if it's the Warriors and the Warriors are clicking in the way that they do, the Warriors can beat anybody. But those 2 teams right now, they're playing some of the best basketball of anybody, and they're getting healthy. They've already been doing what they're doing, and they're getting healthier. I mean, Chris Middleton, while I don't think he doesn't look fully up to speed, his feel is there immediately. Like he came in and I think he's had multiple games with like 6 assists. You know, they're running the offense through him. He's finding guys, letting it come to him. What a luxury that the Bucks have that they're able to do that. Let him take his time to get reacclimated. And Boston's going to have the same opportunity with Rob Williams, especially because of how Al Horford has still looked pretty good, and they've rested him pretty well without Rob Williams. I was worried about his workload, but Cornette has given them serviceable backup minutes, and even sliding Tatum up to play some 5 here and there. We're all on the same page here. I mean, we're all watching the same stuff. It's nice that we're all seeing the same stuff too.
I totally agree. The Celtics right now, they have the best mix of everything that you look for from a contender. I think they have the defense, which is versatile and is in many ways something that you can really, really scheme. They have the ability to go small and play guys like Tatum and Grant Williams at the 4-5 combo, right? Have Grant deal with the bigger guys, have Jason fly around and help where he's so impactful, right? Defensively. They have good on-ball defenders. Marcus Smart. I think Jaylen Brown's a good on-ball defender. He falls asleep from time to time off the ball, but I think Jaylen is certainly a guy that is someone that is very valuable in a playoff setting because he's 6'7", athletic, and cares on the ball defensively. They're going to get back Robert Williams. They can go super big. They can go regular big if you play one of Rob Williams or Al Horford. They can go super big, which is something they did in the playoffs last year by playing Al Horford and Rob Williams together, which is honestly their preferred alignment. They have guys now like Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon who can really, really guard on the perimeter. It's just across the board. The Boston Celtics have so much lineup versatility. They have so many different ways they can beat you. And that's before we get to the offense. Like, this is a top 11 defense right now without one of the 10 best defenders in the NBA and Robert Williams. They're only going to get way better on that end. The offense right now is the number 1 offense in league history by any metric you look at. They have figured out the spacing. They have figured out everything around Jason Tatum. They've built this entire operation around Jason Tatum using Jaylen Brown as like a second side creator and transition dynamic player. They have fostered so much shooting around these guys. Sam Hauser playing a critical role now. Derek White having really improved his shot. Malcolm Brogdon being able to come in and take second side opportunities. Marcus Smart really moving into that point guard role in a way that has been so important for them. I I struggle. I don't think this team is unbeatable, and we'll talk about that maybe as we get into some of the other contenders, but like they have so many different ways to adjust to what other teams are going to present them. And because they force opposing teams into oceans and oceans of space, it is exceptionally difficult to guard them. And that's even before the most important part of this, which is that Jason Tatum would be the first third of the season MVP, because that's how well he's playing right now. So this Celtics team is just ridiculously good, I think.
Yeah. They've got some, and we talked about them on Nerd this week. Like we did a kind of a whole segment on them where we talked about, are they peaking too early? Because remember last year they started off so rough, and I actually don't think they do. They're actually running an offense this year, and this is what it looks like when you have good players and a good system. They were doing it the hard way up until this season, and now we know what this is a top 5 defense when Rob Williams comes back. Like
I think so too.
And they can defend you any way you want. They can drop, they can switch, they can do it all. And you mentioned the versatility that they've got with their guards, especially with Derek White and Brogdon coming off the bench. And they can go 3 guards and still play Tatum and Brown because of their size. And Tatum has been the MVP for the first third of the season. No doubt to me. I actually had him on my list of guys who could potentially get Defensive Player of the Year buzz this season coming into the year. I don't think so at this point. If Rob Williams had been healthy, I think that maybe we could be talking about Jason Tatum there, but the defense hasn't been as good. So they've basically got everything. What I need to see from them is some close games, and that's not their fault. But it's not their fault, but I need to see what they do in close games. Because the last few years, man, close games, they take the air out of the ball. They stop running offense. It goes to the ISO, taking turns, dribble, maybe make a move. And I think one of the big things that come out of this early part of the season is that they're crushing the shit out of everybody, which rules. That's great for them. Jason Tatum gives the ball up and moves. He's such a good screener. Who knew he had this in his game? And so, I see this stuff. I want to make sure these are principles that they're going to stick with when it comes to sticking time. Like when it's time to all right, man, we're going to get tight. Are we going to ruin our flow, or are we going to keep doing what we've been successful with? That's what good teams do, man. They stick with what works. They have the system do the work for them, especially when they're tired. So I just need to see them in some close games. And that's, hell, maybe they win a title without ever playing a close game.
Yeah. Like you mentioned this idea that this team could be early in the season, they struggled. Maybe they're peaking early. I don't think they're peaking early. I think they've just continued to peak since late last season or the middle of last season, right? Like they just keep getting better and better and better. And obviously it's not quite linear because, taking Joe Mazzulla, him getting the job over Ime Udoka because of Ime Udoka's indiscretions, let's go with, that has created a bit of a rift where people had some questions about what the Celtics could be. But all Joe Mazzulla has done is just implement this offense that is super well spaced, that is causing so many issues, and just giving Jason Tatum oceans and oceans of space to go down on the block and to go ahead and take advantage of those mismatches. Or when he gets into the mid-range, to be able to hit that little floater in the mid-range, where he has really, really improved there. It's just wild.
Let me ask you, because I said this on the show this week. You get any 2013-14 Spurs vibes from this team? I'll just say 2014 Spurs, since that's when they won the title. Coming back after losing to Miami, it was kind of heartbreaking. And Boston they got beat by the Warriors, but it was a heartbreaking loss. They came back the next year and they just looked more locked in. And saying that about the Spurs is saying something. Feels that same way here. And they are actually running Joe Mazzulla's offense.
Yeah.
So whatever steps we thought they were going to take back with the coaching change, non-existent. They're actually playing basketball on the offensive end now. So maybe it was an upgrade. I have no idea. Because I think coaching is a little bit overrated, but we know they didn't run offense last year, and this year they are. So I'll just say he's doing a better job. So I've been really impressed with him as a coach. Seems super solid. Even just has these guys playing together, playing connected, and playing for each other, which is a big deal.
Yeah, that 2014 Spurs comparison, like totally different teams, right? Like that was
Yeah.
the team that like completely spread the wealth, right? Whereas this team has like Jason Tatum,
Right.
who is like doing an MVP turn.
Mhm.
That was what Kawhi's second year, maybe. And
Mhm.
Tony Parker like led the team with, I'm looking here, it says like 17 points a game. And
Mhm.
they had just like a bunch of double-digit scorers, bunch of guys that were super unselfish. It kind of does feel that way in terms of the way that they have taken taken the momentum they built the year before and just
Mhm.
run with it and gotten way, way better. I mean, that team won 62 games and 8.1 net rating. I would imagine that the Celtics are right on pace for 60 wins, and they have an 8.8 net rating. So I think that that's a pretty good comparison in terms of where we are. This is the title favorite. Look, if we're nitpicking and saying like we'd like to see them play closer games when they already have like the best shot creator in the league in Jason Tatum right now, other than maybe Luka, like I'm not worried, I guess, about like
No.
it's just hard to find a flaw with this.
Right.
It's hard to find a flaw in the design of the Boston Celtics, especially like before you could say, oh, they didn't have a top 5 player in the league. Jason Tatum is a top 10 player. And can you really win a title with a top 10 player as opposed to a top 5 player? That issue's gone. Jason Tatum has been the best player in the league so far this year. So I don't know. I don't see a flaw here. I think they are the clear number one team.